Hey guys, this is Veron from Star Speaker Arts and welcome back to my channel. I know it's been a bit of a hot minute since I last posted anything, 1 month to be exact. But before I dive into what we're doing today and where I've been the past month, right now that you see in the video, I am doing value blocking essentially. I'm putting down my dark shadows, even like the color of my lighting, and everything else in between. So this will help me later on when I'm rendering, remember and figure out what area should be like really dark and what area should be very bright and hit by the light. Especially since I want to do this kind of dramatic yellowish light. That being said, where have I been? Well, I'm working on the background here. So I've been held hostage by a game known as Palworld. I've been playing it with a friend. It's been very fun, honestly. And I know a lot of my friends have also been playing it. And from what I can tell, a lot of people are also playing the game. So if you are currently trapped in that game like I am, let me know in the comments. But yeah, it's only now that I managed to wiggle out of the grips and the claws of that game. And I remembered, hey, it's kind of been a while since I last drew anything. So here we are. I had to think quite a little bit before I was able to come up with something to draw. I didn't really have any strong inspiration or idea coming into this, and I sort of defaulted into doing Final Fantasy since I started doing fan art for my own character a little while back. So the idea here was that I wanted to draw. Well, the first drawing that I did, I just wanted to draw my Warrior of Light, my character, in the normal outfit I really liked at the time, which was the Shire Tombstone gear. This Final Fantasy XIV, the MMO, if you're not familiar with it. So after that, the next drawing that I did, I wanted to draw him when he was in the base story, the base game, the very first story of the game, which was a Realm Reborn, or ARR as the people in the community would call it. So I wanted to start with that. I had a lot of screenshots since I started. I took a lot of screenshots as I played. So I drew the gear that he was wearing the most at the time, which was a little bit towards the end of ARR, but it was okay. I wore it for quite some time. I didn't really have access to the glamour or the costume system yet. So that drawing was very, a little bit adventurous. He was a bit more fresh. He was in the woodsy, foresty starting area known as Scandinavianz, and he was a new adventurer back then. After that became Heavensward, and this drawing is about. It's the first expansion in the series, so it's the first additional DLC of sorts. And anyone who's played Heavensward would know that it's a bit of a sudden turn from I Am Reborn. It's a bit of a punch in the gut, in the heart. A lot of dramatic, really emotionally charged scenes. And I guess that's where this drawing is pretty much set in. So at the time of this drawing, the Warrior of Light, or your character, is a fugitive. In my case, it's a he, so he couldn't visit or go to the major city hubs that were your allies that you helped as you were adventuring, because you're a fugitive, you're wanted, you're accused of pretty much murder, and pretty much all of your friends are missing or dead, and you don't know what happened to them, and you only have 2 other people with you, and you're like, oh shit, what happened to our friends, kind of thing. So I think that's where around this drawing takes place in. So Heavensward is set in this very cold, snowy mountain area or nation that was cut off from the rest of the nations for quite some time. They closed their borders, they have their own political struggles, and they're having this ongoing war with dragons. And that's where you flee to once you become wanted, essentially. So this is where, my Warrior of Light is pretty much hiding behind some boxes, only illuminated by this window, and there's a fireplace in there, but, if anyone sees you too publicly, you could get arrested, kind of thing. So I imagine this one of the scenes, or this one of the situations my character was in, just chilling quite literally on this cold snow outside. waiting for the clearance to be able to move around a little bit. So that's why he's wearing the Shire outfit, which is, one of the more stronger armors in the game. At that particular point, at that level, you should be wearing this kind of thing. But I really liked it for its aesthetic. It feels very academic vibe, and I really like that kind of vibe. And I ended up using this as a costume for a very, very long time until I got more outfits, and I just now really swap between outfits. But that's neither here nor there. So right now, me personally, as a player, I'm already in Endwalker or mid Endwalker. Hopefully, I'll be done with it by the time Dawnkill comes out this summer, I believe. So I want to maybe at least be in the post Endwalker, the latest expansion, like the post story of that at least before Dawnkill comes out. So by the time Dawnkill comes out, I can sort of be there when it launches, and I'm not just trying to catch up. Because since I started a couple of last year, I've been trying to catch up with the story, but I'm slow, especially with the post expansion stories, like the in betweens while the next expansion comes out. I tend to be kind of slow in those, especially G Stormblood. So I'm gonna try to catch up. I still have 2 or 3 months left, I think. Unfortunately, Palworld took 1 month out of that, so I don't know if I'll be able to catch up. Also, as with my couple of recent videos, this is a bit of a longer video, but I will maybe not be talking through everything. There will be parts where it's just music, so you can have this on while you're drawing yourself, and maybe you're cleaning or you're doing some project or something. Just have this background noise kind of thing. I will be typing in every now and then if there's something particularly interesting that I want to talk about on screen. But in between that, feel free to enjoy the music, and yeah. So at this point, I'm starting to do the lighting on a different layer. For this particular drawing, I ended up using a lot of layer effects and layer styles like multiply, overlay to get the effect that I wanted. So I did the base rendering on one layer, and just so that I have a bit of control, I would put a lot of the more intense lighting on a different layer so I can edit quite a bit. So for this one, I used overlay, two instances of overlay and one multiply layer for the shadows, which you'll see also later on. Even though my cursor is going quite fast here in the video, this is actually like a 2+ hours worth of footage that I just condensed down to 20 minutes. I also cut out quite a lot of bit of repetitive stuff. One thing you wouldn't see here too much in the videos, I really struggled with the nose and quite a bit here in the lighting as well. I had to fight myself quite often because I had this, not really obsession, but a bad habit of wanting to blend everything out, make it smooth. I guess this comes from a little bit from my watercolor technique, so it might have kept in a little bit. And I would put erasing the darker parts. It's no, it needs to be sharper, it needs to be darker. If I blend everything out, it makes it less impactful. So that's something I struggled a little bit with this piece. The nose and harder, harsher shadows. So now this part of the video, I am trying to add a bit more darker shadows, increase the contrast. Since the light is very harsh, I wanted to have darker, sharper shadows, and to do that, I ended up using this dark gray brush, or I mean dark gray paint. It's just really a darkened version of the background, the wall, and started to paint that in the shadows, set to multiply, and I would tweak a bit the opacity of that later on, but I just don't show it here, but I would quite often toggle on and on the layer effects just to see the difference between like a more neutral, normal lighting versus this one with this really harder yellow glow. And I'd really say that it really makes such a big difference between just, normal sunlight versus this more intense source. And I don't know, personally, not to hype myself up too much, but I really feel like my art's improved quite a bit over the past year, like 2023 to 2024. Like comparing this even to something that I did in January last year, I feel like there's quite a bit of a difference, and that kind of makes me happy. Like, yeah. And all it took was just a book to read through, and maybe spending a lot more time thinking what I like and dislike about my art and what I want to change, and if there's anything I want to change even. because a lot of it, if you really compare it to my older art, still feels similar, especially with the face shape and maybe with how I do clothes sometimes. But those were things that I liked. I guess to me, this felt like rough and unpolished. And reading that color and light book by 3D Total, they did that as a Kickstarter. Reading the book really boosted how I understood color and lighting. And even though a lot of it was very technical, it still kind of helped, I think. Eventually, when I save up a bit more money, I might buy the second book, which is the one about composition, because I do have like very basic ideas about composition, but it's nothing. It's good to get that book again. Who knows? Maybe I might suddenly evolve again in art style, and who knows? But that's fairly good. Just makes me excited to think about it. So for this one, since the lighting, the main source of lighting is coming from the upper right, and it's somewhat behind him, but I didn't fully take that into account. It's coming from his upper right, essentially. The shadows therefore need to be on the lower left area, so that's why I'm adding all of this darker color in. I even do his shadow at this point and blur that out a little bit just so that it's not so harsh, since shadows tend to fade a little bit towards the edges. And then here, I'm adding another layer of more harsher light. And I really like how this added a lot more pop to the piece. And probably my only regret for this piece is that I wish I didn't fade it out so much. So I was gonna blend this out a bit more. Maybe I should have kept a lot more harder edges, or maybe I should have just kept it sharp in the first place. But you live and you learn. So one thing I really tried to be careful with this piece was pretty much moderation. I had the overwhelming urge to just like flood the entire thing with the orangey light and add so many highlights, but it really wouldn't work like that. So I really tried my best to read it in, put it where only it would really make sense and not just put it wherever area is exposed. So yeah, it took quite a lot. I had a lot of fun though with this one. One thing you won't see here, because I did it after I finished the recording, I would add a little bit more detail to the wall behind him and add like the brick texture, which is just a darker line across the walls. And I would add snow actually on the gates, since it didn't make sense. There was snow, this is a very snowy area, it's constantly snowing. Why isn't there snow on the gates? So that's something I also add. And I think it adds a nice touch to the piece that feels a little bit more intentional. Anyway, I hope you enjoyed watching this video. I really enjoyed making this piece. Right, at this point I'm trying to put the bow in because he's supposed to be a bard class, which is an archer essentially in the game. I eventually figured that it didn't really work. It's sticking out like a sore thumb, so I just deleted that. So pretty much it. I hope you enjoyed it. As I said, please do subscribe if you did enjoy it and you want to see more. I will see you guys again when I end up drawing again. Hopefully another game won't just sweep me off my feet and take me out for another month. Alright, Take care of yourselves and bye bye.